Good afternoon, everybody. So I'm Drew McDaniel. I'm the lead program manager within the Azure Virtual Machines workload and Cloud Service workload. And it's my pleasure to introduce my friend Michael Walsham. Michael's been working in Azure for 7, 8 years, a very long time. I knew Michael when he was an evangelist, evangelizing Azure, and Corey Sanders, who's the father of Azure IaaS, had convinced Michael to come work on the product team. And so Michael came to the product team. We were able to work with Michael for about a year at the time, made a tremendous amount of impact on the early part of IaaS as it was really getting started with Corey Sanders, Mark Rusinovich, myself, and a few others. Michael drove a lot of our PowerShell and user interaction. But what Michael found is that his real passion lied with helping customers leverage and use this technology to improve their businesses. And so for the past 5 years, Michael's been running Ops Agility, doing training for customers in on-demand and live settings. Michael does a lot of training actually with our employees at Microsoft, training them on the Microsoft Cloud. And so he also has an MVP, and so we know that Michael's going to be a great presenter, and give him your attention as he goes through the getting started with IaaS, how to get started, how to actually get off on the right foot. So with that, I'll give you Michael Walsham.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Drew. All right. Bar's high now, right? All right, so good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Getting Started with Azure Infrastructure Service session. Like Drew said, my name is Michael Walsham. I'm going to be focused on a very beginner session that's going to be covering compute, network, and storage. Now, before I get started, how many of you use Azure Infrastructure Service today? Awesome. So how many pretty new to people? How many of you, this is probably one of the very beginning sessions you've ever seen on Azure? Awesome. Okay, perfect. So let's go ahead and kind of get started talking about some of the key things. And I know there's probably a lot of you have already seen this slide. And just bear with me, if you've already seen it, that's perfectly fine. But this is one of the key things, one of the most important things that you can understand whenever you're getting started into the cloud in general. You have to understand really what are you getting by going to the Azure? What's the difference between what you're doing today? And I always like to start just by examining what you're already doing, which is your traditional on-prem world. And really, in the traditional on-prem world, this on the far left, you're responsible for a little bit of everything. You're responsible for the data center. You're responsible for the electricity, the perimeter security. Someone has to protect, making sure people are going in and out of your building, making sure they're not doing things inside your data center. You're responsible for the servers. So updating firmware. If a blade dies in a rack, it's someone in your business's job is to go replace that or do something about it, right? There's a lot of things that if you're not playing in the data center very often, that you just kind of take for granted that someone actually has to go and do these things. You're also responsible for the virtualization layer. So whether you're using Hyper-V, VMware, Zen, or whatever, someone has to actually manage that. They have to figure out how many hosts can go on a given node, how to manage it, how to deploy it, how to fail it over. And all the way up from there, you're managing the operating systems, patching it, understanding, deploying whatever middleware you're using, runtime, data, and of course, finally, the apps that you're running in your data center. Great, we're already there. If you're not on Azure or AWS or whatever today, this is probably where you're at today. So now you move a little bit to the right in the infrastructure and service world. Now, starting at the bottom, this is really the key piece that you're getting managed by your cloud provider. This is the underlying networking. Well, guess what? In the cloud, whenever you're managing things in Azure, you're not running cables anymore. You're not managing the routers. You're not running the switches. You're not running the physical aspects of running a network. You're not managing the underlying storage arrays. You're not dealing with all the physical details of making sure your storage is working. And servers, if a blade dies in Azure, well, guess what? You don't really care. Your machine boots up on another one and you move on. There's no one there on your side that's actually running around going, oh, we got to fix this blade. That's gone. And of course, the virtualization layer, that's all handled for you under the covers. It's not your responsibility to figure out how many hosts can fit on this one physical server. Now, that's essentially infrastructure as a service in a nutshell. Those four things, and quite a bit of other stuff that you'll see here in a little while, is really what you're getting whenever you start thinking about the cloud IaaS model. Now, the cool thing about this, cool or good or bad, whichever way you want to look at it, is you still get the flexibility being able to do really whatever the heck you want to. So your VMs, you still manage the operating system. You still have to patch it, maintain it, back it up, protect it. You still have to manage the middleware, whatever, if you're using Tomcat or whatever layer you have to deploy, that's on you to do. And you still got runtime data and, of course, your apps. So you're still getting all the flexibility that you get with your data center, but you lose a lot of the requirements of actually managing a data center. Now, the further right you go, platform as a service, of course, this is more in the developer space, where your developers are tasked with writing code using composable services like search, storage, SQL database, Cosmo. The beauty of PaaS is they're not really worried about any of those services, how they work under the covers. They just got to write some code and make a really cool app, using AI and all kinds of shiny new toys that they get with the cloud. And then all in the SaaS space, all you are is you're a consumer in SaaS. You're configuring it, you're setting it up for your right use case. But hence this is an IaaS talk, let's dig a little deeper in this topic. So before we go too deep into actual Azure IaaS, I just want to call out some of the key benefits you get whenever you go this route. A lot of customers think that, well, it's close to what I'm doing on-prem, so maybe I'll just wait to migrate and just keep it on-prem now, and maybe I'll modernize, use some PaaS stuff. But there are some significant benefits to going directly to infrastructure as service. And we'll see a lot of these as we go. But some of the key things you'll take advantage of is, A, you do start lowering your risk of managing your own data center because Microsoft's managing that for you now. So that's a big piece of it. The other one is only paying for what you use. The other piece I didn't mention in the on-premises world is, guess what? All that hardware, someone has to actually know ahead of time how much you're going to need and buy it, provision it, make sure that you accurately estimate it, and chances are very slim that you did. Most people buy way more hardware than they need, which means they overspent. In the cloud, you don't have that response, or you don't have that problem. You can, if you do it right, you can only pay for what you use. It does take a little effort. You have to script it, you have to automate it, monitor it, things like that. But you have that capability, and that's something you just don't have on-prem. You also have the ability to automatically provision and deprovision infrastructure. So traditional IT pro, I don't know how often you do this, but I've seen a lot of customers that we deliver training to are constantly writing scripts to reset SharePoint farms or set this up, set this up. Azure actually gives you tools just built in where I can completely provision a brand new deployment of whatever I want. It could be a bunch of VMs, it could be a bunch of VMs in a database, web apps, it doesn't really matter. But the key thing is you can write a template that's repeatable. So if you are in the business of where you're constantly giving off new environments to your dev or your test teams or whatever, you can automate this and makes your life a lot easier. And of course, the last thing, and we'll talk a lot more about this later, is monitoring and management efficiency. The ability to really have insight into all your infrastructure in the cloud, and then actually have insight back to your on-prem or maybe even other cloud provider resources is one of the things that you can get out of an infrastructure service deployment. So again, the main point here is just don't think that you're really just getting the same stuff. It's just you moved it from your data center to Azure. You actually, if you take advantage of it, there's a lot more beyond that. So if you don't know a whole lot about Azure, let's dig in. So the very first thing we'll talk about in IaaS is compute. And compute in Azure really is the two that we like to focus on, at least in IaaS. There's a ton of other compute options in Azure altogether. But really the core that we'll focus on today is going to be virtual machines and virtual machine skill sets. Now, virtual machines are really important. Hey, if you're an IT pro, you probably already know these. If you're doing Hyper-V today, if you're doing VMware, you know a lot of the key core concepts, whether you've been using Azure or not. You'll have to adapt your learning. It'll be done a little bit differently here and there, but ultimately, you're still doing with virtual disks. You're still composing a virtual machine based off of form factor of a certain amount of cores, certain amount of memory, certain number of disks, and uploading the data. It's not that much different. So that's a significant advantage if you're in that state. The other virtual machines can also run pretty much any Windows or Linux-based workload now. So if you run it on-prem in Windows or Linux today, you can probably run it in Azure. That, with the flexibility, makes it probably your easiest target for migration. A lot of you are probably looking at how to get your applications to the cloud, whether you start modernizing with containers or serverless or whatever. If you're literally just looking for the most efficient way of getting from point A to point B and getting into the cloud, infrastructure as service is going to be the fastest way of doing this. And as we'll see in just a few minutes, virtual machines give you a ton of different instance sizes that you can choose from. One of the biggest problems that I saw early on in Azure is it was really hard to figure out which instance size you actually would run to whenever you start deploying VMs. But now it's pretty much broken down by workload. You have some generic ones, and then you have very specific virtual machine sizes that are targeted for what you're actually trying to do. And I'll show you some examples of what those look like. Skill sets are all the goodness of a virtual machine, except it's really designed for workloads that need to dynamically scale in and out. So think about workload like a web farm. I have a web farm that on Tuesday needs 15 virtual machines to handle the load. Tuesday night, maybe 28. Then some random crazy retail event towards the holidays, I need 982. Well, if you're manually doing that, that's a lot of work to be able to kind of scale to those needs. Most people on-prem would have 982 virtual machines running the whole time and just hope for the best. Scale sets allow you to configure auto-scale rules to automatically add the nodes as they're needed, and then just all the better, take them away when they're not. So this is how you can get your costs under control and run a 1,000-node web farm if you needed to all at the same time. So think about those as more of your burstable, I have to dynamically scale in and out type workloads. But for the most part, they can do everything that you can do with a virtual machine. Now, whenever you are deploying virtual machines, as I said, there's a lot of different types of virtual machine configurations you can choose from. These are not the types, these are the series. Inside of each of these series, there's a whole bunch of different form factors, that has different configurations of memory, cores, and just overall network capabilities. So you can kind of look, and as you go through and you're deploying your workloads, you kind of want to start thinking about which one would work better. Like if you're using GPU-intensive workloads, you're probably going to want to start looking at the N series. If you're doing memory-optimized workloads that really need heavily memory usage, maybe the M's. It all depends on what you're doing. Now, if you're just doing general purpose stuff, web servers, domain controllers, file servers, whatever, that's where the D series and even the A series come in at. So you don't have to get too scientific about it, but just know that those options are available for you if you do have those very specific workloads. And one of the really interesting things about Azure is that as you see these different series, a lot of these are new. And if you look at the stuff on the right, these are stuff that's just recently been announced or it's on the roadmap. They're constantly innovating, coming up with new solutions, new series. So even if you don't have the perfect fit today, they might have one tomorrow. So this team is actually very interesting because they're consistently innovating in this space. Now, beyond just picking your virtual machine settings, how much cores, how much network, things like that, you also have to think about, great, I'm deploying in a different data center. How does that get deployed? From an availability or redundancy perspective, what does that really look like? Because it is kind of virtual, right? If you're used to going into your data center and seeing how your stuff is set up, you can't really do that anymore. You have to kind of understand it at a theoretical level. But you also get the advantage that, maybe you had one data center before, you have 54 to play with now. That's kind of a really cool thing if you're thinking about, distributing your workloads all across the world for either getting closer to your users or just from a availability perspective. But really, whenever you're thinking about moving workloads to the cloud, the first thing you have to think about is each workload is going to have an availability requirement. It might be just a simple app that, inside of your organization, 20 or 40 people hit every week. If it doesn't respond once in a while, it's not that big of a deal. Or it could be all the way to if this doesn't answer, then the CTO is going to be calling me and yelling at me, right? And each of those has a different requirements. Whenever you're talking about the infrastructure redundancy, you do have some controls here. If you're just looking at, I need a pretty highly available VM, it doesn't have to be more than 99.9. You can literally get 99.9% uptime with a single virtual machine as long as it's configured with premium storage. Pretty big plus for those workloads that really do need to be up a lot, but they don't have that much, end users hitting them a lot or a lot of usage. But once you start looking into, I need a little bit more availability, like I'm in the 99.95 or even the 99.99, you start looking at different configuration options. The first one we'll talk about is a availability set. What an availability set really does is I'm deploying multiple virtual machines and I put them into an availability set. What that does behind the scenes for me is it's going to put some of my VMs in one rack in the data center and some of the VMs in another rack. Fantastic. That means if one of those racks completely goes down, I still have part of my workload up and running. So it does give you that data center level availability within the same data center. Now, if you need a little bit more availability, and this is not available in every region, but they're adding a lot of availability, or a lot of these to new regions as we speak, but there's another concept called an availability zone. And this gives you a little bit better, 99.99, but what it really does is whenever you deploy your workloads to the zone, availability zones, you're actually going to get part of your VMs deployed into a different data center altogether. So you'll have in data center 1, data center 2, or data center 3. And this gives you true data center level availability within a region. Everyone familiar with what a region is? A little bit? So if you're looking, whenever we're deploying to Azure in a portal here in a few minutes, you'll see things like East US and West US, things like that. And inside of those regions, there's going to be multiple data centers. And if you're deploying to an availability zone, which is really cool, your VMs will actually automatically be deployed into those different data centers for you. So it gives you a whole new level of availability. Now, the fourth one, this is one where you got to put a little bit of thought behind it. This is if you really need geo-level redundancy. And there are applications absolutely out there that require geo-level redundancy. What does that really mean? Well, behind the scenes, you mentioned there's 54 regions out there that you can deploy to. So you can deploy East US, West US, doesn't really matter. But as long as you're thinking, if I need to be able to have a geo-redundant solution, there are tools to make this happen. Now, whenever you're thinking about that redundancy level, this doesn't come automatic. This is something that you have the tools for, and as a cloud architect, or if you don't not a cloud architect, you should acquire a cloud architect. They're going to help you come up with a solution that can be distributed across multiple regions. There's tools like Azure Traffic Manager and Site Recovery, storage replication, and within the different PaaS services like SQL and Cosmos that basically allow you to set up replication between these different regions. Now again, there's nothing automatic about this, but the capability is there if you really need it. All right, so I'm going to jump in to the Azure portal and show everyone a real quick demo about what some of this looks like. Now, the cool thing is, even if you've already used Azure and seen demos of creating virtual machines, if you haven't done it in the last 3 days, it's actually a new demo because they changed the whole virtual machine creation experience. So at least, even if you've already done this a little bit, it might see something new here. So the first thing I'm going to do is kind of give everyone a real quick tour of the portal. And when I say quick, I mean super quick. But over on the left, you're going to see kind of a little category of all the different resources that you've pinned to the left side of your portal, right? So in our case, we have virtual machines and SQL databases and all that. So that's kind of how you navigate. But the main thing is if I wanted to create a VM, I can go into the Create a Resource button. And from here, you know, we have the entire Azure Marketplace to choose from. And you can pick some of the most popular ones like Windows Server, Ubuntu, or whatever. Or you can also go up here and search. So if I want to deploy something that's not up front, like if I wanted to try one of the pre-release versions of Windows Server 2019, I could go ahead and pick that guy. Once we're in here, we can go in and give it, you know, what you're, you know, some of the things that you're typically used to when you create a new computer. It's going to have a computer name, a resource group. And if you're not familiar with a resource group, just think of it as a logical container that groups all your resources together that share the same life cycle. So a virtual machine is going to, under the covers, it's going to have network interfaces, storage, it's going to have disks. You really want to have all of those together because, you know, they kind of operate in the same life cycle. So we'll call this our demo resource group. Resource groups do a whole bunch more than that, by the way, but this is getting started, so we'll start there. And let's pick one in a remote region. So this is where you can pick one of those 54 regions that we talked about. So just from the portal, I can pick wherever I wanted to go ahead and deploy it to. So let's go ahead and pick West Europe. Why not? And if we wanted to join to an availability zone or availability set, this is where we can just go ahead and pick that really quick. So we're not going to mess with it at the moment. And the next one is all the different sizes we mentioned. This is how you actually pick that. So you can go in. There's all kinds of different filtering options that you can pick to figure out which virtual machine size you want. You can see the different columns, the number of IOPS, disks, amount of memory, you name it. This is really where you can kind of figure out what you're going to create your virtual machine with. And last but not least, we're going to give it an admin account so we can actually log into the VM when we're ready. Actually, there's one more thing here. So whenever you first create a virtual machine, you can open up ports. This is actually going to be modifying what's called a network security route, which is basically a set of rules that allow inbound or outbound traffic for your VM. So we can go ahead and open up some simple ones here through the portal. Of course, you can open up whatever you want to after the fact. And there's one more thing you should know, especially if you're just now getting started. If your organization already has Windows Server licenses, remember this because it's very easy to overlook. But if you have Windows Server licenses, you may be able to use the Azure Hybrid benefit. And what this allows you to do is essentially reuse your Windows licenses in Azure. So from a cost perspective, you can save quite a bit of money if you follow this route. I'm sorry, can you mind using a microphone? Oh, how do you, in the UI? Yeah, so each of those were a checkbox, essentially, but you can also go in and basically, I shall show you here in just a second, but you can go in and there's an entire rules editor where you can control all the inbound and outbound rules. There's a whole UI for it. But the other cool thing is that you can automate it with templates for scripting or however you want to do it as well. So there's a portal experience and an automation experience. So once we have our VM created, and that's really all it takes to create a VM. And I did skip over a bunch of stuff. You could also manage disks and monitoring, things like that as well. We'll cover those here in just a few minutes too, though. I want to show you one other thing that real fast is part of this one. And if I open up my resource group, remember I mentioned a resource group is basically a container. And in this resource group, I can deploy 2 different virtual machines, a Windows VM and a Linux VM. And you can see all the different resources that are in here. You have the virtual network, you have the disks, the network interfaces, basically all the things that you would expect as part of provisioning a VM. Now what I'm going to show you real quick is how you actually can connect to these guys and manage them. Now this is obviously using public IP, so in the real world you'd probably be using some kind of private IP connectivity, but it makes it pretty simple to do for some of these ones that are accessible public. So I have a Linux VM here that I've already deployed, and this is a nice little tip. If you're like me, I'm mostly sit on a Windows machine. Sometimes I don't have all the tools I need. If you've never seen this before, there's this little tool in here called Cloud Shell. So Cloud Shell is essentially a browser-based interface that allows you to drop into a command line that gives you access to either the Azure command line tools, which are a little bit bash focused, or the Azure PowerShell command line. So if you are more of a command line driven person and you happen to be needing to run a command, it's super easy to jump in here and connect. So I'm going to go ahead and SSH into my Linux VM. And see, I pulled the public IP from the overview tab here. Okay, so now I'm actually logged into one of my Linux VMs. And from here I can, like install something. Maybe if I can type it. There we go. So let's install Apache just to kind of see how this works. And this is where I'll show you how the network security groups work with managing multiple ports. So while it's installing Apache, one thing I've already done is on this VM is I've already opened up port 80. And if I go over the networking tab on my VM, you can see a lot of the different capabilities here. So this is the expanded view of what our network security group looks like. And this is right now, it's attached at the VM level. Just remember that a network security group can be applied per VM, or you can also attach it directly to a subnet. So if you have 20 VMs in the same subnet, you can make one rule set applies to all of them if you wanted to. But the inbound rules here, and we have we've allowed SSH, we've allowed port 80, and some other default rules that are part of this. So this is what allows us to actually connect to this VM. So now that we've installed Apache, let me just take a real quick check to make sure it actually worked. And ta-da, we've successfully installed Apache. So it gives you a little bit better idea how you can actually log in and manage your VMs all from the Azure portal if you wanted to. All right, so talked a little tiny bit about compute, creating the different form factors, the different VM sizes you can create. Now let's talk about the underlying storage. How do what do your disks look like is essentially what we're talking about. In Azure, almost all the services, Azure Virtual Machines, Cosmos, SQL, doesn't really matter. Under the covers, they're all working off of this service called Azure Storage. And Azure Storage has all kinds of capabilities for infrastructure folks, IT pros, as well as developers. So we're going to focus more on the infrastructure ones. But whenever you're talking about Azure Storage, you're really looking at, especially as it relates to VMs, you're thinking about disks. So the C drive, the VMs I just created, or the disks that I attached to my Linux VM, you're talking about Azure Files. Azure Files is a really interesting service. It's essentially an SMB 3.0 file share service as a service, lack of a better word. Essentially, if you're running file shares today in Windows or Samba or whatever, you can literally go into the portal, create an Azure file share, and attach it and mount it just like any other SMB shared. You can access it from on-prem or in Azure. Makes it super easy to just, especially if you're migrating existing file shares up to the cloud, makes it super easy to get that there. Then you also have this concept of a blob. Now, blob is essentially just a file, so don't let the strange name confuse you. But there's a couple of different types of blobs that you'll work with. As you work with Azure Storage, there's a block blob. These are traditional files like spreadsheets and MP4s. You can put whatever the heck you want to as a block blob. Page blobs are really they mimic what a file system does. They have random write patterns. They're really designed to be a file system. And matter of fact, the page blobs for your virtual machines are actually, that's what your disks are. Under the covers, a disk, whenever you upload a VHD file to Azure, is uploaded as a page blob. So think of it that way. Page blob is really just under the covers. It's really designed to be a disk. You also have a concept of pin blobs. Probably won't run into it too much as a, from an admin perspective. It's more of a developer type thing, but it's really designed for things like logging. I want to write to this file and always have it go to the very end. You also have some hybrid services. Now, Azure File Sync is a relatively new service, and it's insanely useful, especially for migration or, to its name, hybrid scenarios. So imagine you have a file share on-prem, could be Samba, could be Windows Server, doesn't really matter, and you have workloads in Azure that also need access to those same files. There's two ways you could accomplish this. You could have your workloads in Azure connect back to on-prem and access those files, or you could use Azure File Sync, synchronize between your file share on-prem and Azure files in the public cloud. Really useful scenario, helps with migration, helps with these hybrid scenarios where you have to have files in both places. And last but not least, transport. How do you get data to the cloud? As you're getting started, this is one of the trickier pieces. It's like, we have 200 terabytes. What do we do with it? How do you actually get that migration out? There's a bunch of different tools that you can think of. If you've never seen it, there's a whole GUI tool called Storage Explorer, cross-platform, fantastic for, especially if you're just trying to figure out how storage works, but it's also fantastic for actually managing your storage counts. There's command line tools, AZ Copy, PowerShell, CLI. These can all be used to upload, download, manage your Azure storage. And then if you're trying to do more bulk migration, like I need massive amounts of data, there's actually a time and a place where it's actually faster to put your data on disks and ship it to Azure versus actually uploading it. And that's where import, export, and Databox come in, where you can literally put your data on disks, package them up, and it's of course encrypted, send it to Microsoft, they'll unpack it and put it into a storage account for you to use. So these are some of the migration options that you can use as you start moving out towards Azure. Now, some of the more important pieces here is beyond just migration, how do I get my data in the cloud? How do I configure my virtual machine disks? There's lots of different, we saw all the different compute options. Well, what are the disk options? Well, as you get started, just think about, really, you need to understand what your application's requirements are, because you have standard HDD, which is going to be by far the cheapest type of disk you can deploy in Azure, but it's also the one that's not going to give you the best performance. So if you have workloads that may not have high IOP requirements or low latency requirements, it might be a great fit. It's one of those things is, totally dependent on the application. If you need a little bit more consistent performance, you'll start looking at the standard SSD disks. These are relatively new, but they're also going to give you very consistent performance, measurable latency, things like that. Once you start working into more IO-intensive workloads, that's when you're going to start looking at premium SSD. And this is where you can start getting really high-end storage configurations, where you can attach multiple disks and actually get really high throughput. And then what's really new, the Ultra SSD, just now in preview, this is where you can get sub-millisecond latency in anywhere from 80,000 to 160,000 IOPS. This is for your big mega workloads that require massive IOPS. So the cool thing about storage is just like the compute options, you have options from, a workload that requires for 10 users a week, all the way up to massive IOPS and massive compute workloads. So it's completely up to you on what you want to deploy in Azure, but the cool thing is you can do it. It's capable. So I'm going to take a real quick demo and show you how storage works with Azure. And it is quick because it's really simple. All right, so we're going to switch back over to our portal. And my deployment is complete. So this is a virtual machine that we deployed just a little while ago. So if I go down, if you kind of look over here, if you've never seen Azure portal here, over in settings, you have networking, disks, size, security, all this good stuff. If I wanted to manage the storage, very first thing I can do is I can show you that right now we have one disk attached. And if I click on that disk, note this is a separate entity. I can actually manage this disk on its own. And what that really means is I can go in, I can create a snapshot, I can export it. If I wanted to give someone access to it so they can manage this disk for me, maybe they needed to take a backup of it or something, I can actually go in access control and give someone else access directly to this disk. They don't even need to have access to the entire VM. I can literally just give them access to the disk itself. So you get all kinds of really low-level management capabilities anywhere you go inside of these different resources. So in addition to the existing C drive, if I wanted to add another disk, I can just click Add Disk and create. And from here, give it a name, and the resource group that I created in. And a couple options here you'll notice here. In the account type, we got premium SSD because the VM was default to DS and S. Anytime you see S in the instance size name, that means it supports premium storage. If it doesn't have S, it only supports standard. We can see that it can support premium SSD, but we can also change that to standard HDD or standard SSD. So what that tells you is as you're coming up with a form factor of your VM configuration, you can actually mix and match these different disk types on the same VM. So I can have really high-end premium SSD for disks that are going to get heavy writes, reads, whatever. And if I know I'm going to have a disk that maybe just stores backups or something like that, I can opt for a cheaper standard HDD disk on the same virtual machine. So just remember, as you're building out these VMs, you can actually get that level of detail whenever you're configuring them. And as a source type, I can actually pick a snapshot, something I've already previously snapshot, or if I've uploaded a disk previously, I can attach one. Maybe this is one from on-prem or something like that. And once we do, this will actually create a new disk entity in my resource group, and I can then attach it to my VM. So pretty easy to manage. Subsystem makes it nice and simple. Now, the other thing, take a look right here, is the estimated performance. This is going to give you a ballpark idea of how many IOPS you're going to get off this disk. Now, the question is, how can you get 10 or 15 or 20,000 IOPS? Well, it makes it super easy. You create multiple disks that have the IOPS requirement, and then inside the operating system, you actually stripe these. So if I take 3 of these disks and I stripe them together to make a single volume, well, guess what? I have a 15,000 IOP disk. Pretty powerful, pretty easy to use from building these high-end storage subsystems. Okay, networking. We talked a little bit about compute. We've talked a little bit about networking or storage. Now let's dive into the networking aspect. So when we're talking about networking in Azure, and keep in mind, this is just like storage and compute, this is definitely not going to be comprehensive. But whenever you're talking about networking, there's really a couple of ways you can look at it. You can look at it, the capabilities on the virtual machine itself, the capabilities within Azure inside the virtual network, and then the connectivity options between your network in Azure and on-premises. So there's really 3 different areas that you got to think about as you're configuring your network. On the VM itself, not a lot of surprises here. If you're used to using, Hyper-V or VMware, a lot of these things are, just you kind of assume they'd be here. IPv4 support, IPv6, multiple NICs for configuring load balancers and firewalls, things like that. Private public IPs, DHCP can do this. Of course, you can do it in Azure as well. Network security groups, a little bit different, kind of built in. And of course, another DHCP property is the automatically assigning DNS servers to your VMs. These are all just kind of things that you just assume, and you should know they're absolutely there. But beyond just core VM networking, there's a bunch of just built-in services in Azure that you can just jump in and take advantage of. And again, this is not a comprehensive list. It's just, these are some of the core things that you'll probably run into sooner rather than later. So load balancer, layer 4 load balancer allows you to put your virtual machines or your skill sets, automatically distribute traffic between them, super easy to set up, very easy to scale. Then you also have a layer 7 application gateway, which gives you a lot more routing capabilities. I can route based on URL. I can do things like cookie persistence, a little bit more advanced capabilities, and it also includes a web app firewall behind that. And Traffic Manager, another nifty one that you'll run into. And this kind of mentioned this back in the geo-redundancy talk. If you need to load balance traffic between your on-prem data center and Azure, or Azure Region 1 and Azure Region 2 or Azure Region 3, Traffic Manager is what makes that happen. It's basically a DNS distribution service. So if I want to send traffic, a user in Texas, send them to the Texas data center, and if I want to send a user in California to the the West US data center, I can actually do that. It'll figure out where they're at and actually route them to the closest endpoint. So it does a lot of really cool magic things behind the scenes, and it's all based on DNS. You have several other new services like Azure Front Door. This is all about helping you scale out your microservices and get them closer to your end users on edge. Azure Firewall, protect your network, and of course, Content Delivery Network. Built-in CDN, if I want to put content out, get it much closer to my users wherever they are in the world, already built-in, baked-in service. Now, the really cool thing is if you don't want to use any of that, if you're already used to using your Barracuda or whatever it is you have on-prem, it's probably in the Azure Marketplace. So whatever you're using on premises today, there's a really good chance that there is a marketplace offering where you can spin up a virtual appliance and continue using that because you're already familiar with it, you already have a contract, whatever. You can continue using that once you start using that in Azure. Now, the last piece, hybrid connectivity. And again, this is definitely not comprehensive, but just to kind of give you some ideas, we've been talking about running things in Azure, but in the real world, a lot of companies that we talk to, they don't just pick up everything and put it in the cloud on day one. It'd be really cool if they did, but don't see that happening very often. So what we end up seeing a lot of is how do I connect my workloads on premises to stuff that I just migrated to Azure, or how do my users to connect to things in Azure? And this is really where this hybrid connectivity option comes from. It could be just as simple as I have a team of telecommuters, developers, or infrastructure people, or whatever, that need to securely connect to my virtual networks, and that's where something like point-to-site connectivity would come in. It allows me to have an individual user to connect securely back to my VM over private IPs, not public IPs. Site-to-site VPN allows me to do whole network to whole network. So I can set up an appliance and connect between my gateway on premises and Azure, and I can actually have multiple VMs or a whole network on prem directly connect to something in Azure. Then you have VNet peering, which allows me to really easily connect multiple networks in Azure. So I can have a network in Japan East connect to some network in West US, and also one in East US, and basically just build a global virtual network that way, all using virtual network peering. Really, really powerful capabilities. And last but not least is ExpressRoute. And ExpressRoute is really used for companies that need to have basically a direct connection to Azure. So instead of going through VPN tunnels or point-to-site, PPTP, things like that, they literally have a direct connect, usually through a service provider, gets them plugged directly into Azure. And this is enterprise level, enterprise-grade connectivity. So those are kind of the tour of hybrid connectivity options. Again, there's a ton of other stuff out there to look at, and I got some sessions at the end I'd recommend to go kind of look further than this. Last but not least, management. We've talked a little bit about how to create them, how to configure storage, how to talk a little bit about networking, now managing. Cloud is all about management and automation. One of the very first things you're going to run into as you deploy anything in Azure or do anything in Azure is you're going to see the term Azure Resource Manager a lot. So what exactly is Azure Resource Manager? It's magic. No. What it is the API interface between your keyboard and the resources in the Azure Data Center. Probably a really good high-level description of it. But essentially, it is the interface that whenever you create a virtual machine in the portal, you create a VM in the command line, you delete something, you update it, whatever you do, it's all going through the Azure Resource Manager interface. So it's essentially your go-to API for doing any kind of automation. So that's all good to know that the portal uses it, CLI uses it, but you can also take advantage of this as part of your automation. So a couple of things you can do is, A, you can use resource groups. We already saw that a little bit. Resource groups give you all kinds of capability for organization, things that we didn't really talk about, like tags and billing. We can actually get rolled up billing by resource group. All kinds of things from a governance perspective that, sure, there's a governance session around. If you're interested in that, there's a much deeper dive on it. But it also gives you the ability to automated deployments. So all the virtual machines we created in the portal, we can actually automate that. We can build a template that represents every bit of resources that we want to deploy in Azure and then repeatedly deploy it. And the really nice thing about it, it's versionable. This is all just JSON, which under the cover is just a text file. That means you can basically document your entire infrastructure and source control. Really, really cool capabilities once you get there. If you ever heard the term infrastructure as code, that's really where this is coming from. So a few other things that you'll want to be aware of is every resource that you really talk to or use in Azure, whether it's a virtual machine or an Azure web app or a function or whatever, there's always going to be on the settings tab an operations or monitoring or diagnostics section. And these are per resource. So virtual machines have its own list of things that you can do from an operations perspective. We can configure it to automatically shut down, do backup. We can use disaster recovery, and what disaster recovery means in this case is I can have it fail over between multiple regions, or I can actually have it fail over between on-prem and a cloud. I know that sounds crazy that you can do that, but it's just baked into the platform with site recovery. And these are all the different options that you have in VMs. But that's at the resource level. So how do you manage Azure kind of at scale? And this is where you start looking at more holistic solutions like log analytics. You're looking at Azure diagnostics, things like this. Log analytics is a great service. It allows you to basically monitor all your resources in Azure, capture their logs, query it, slice and dice it, generate alerts. But it also allows you to manage and monitor things that are outside of Azure. So you can plug log analytics agents on VMs running on your on-premises environment. They could be running on AWS, Google, doesn't really matter. And you can surface all this data back into your Azure management portal and get that single point of view of where all your infrastructure is coming from. So that's just one service, and there's several other here, but you really, the key ones you'll probably start looking at early on is Azure Migrate. So if you're looking at how to get my VMs that I have on-prem today running in Azure, fantastic service, does some basic assessments and some optimization and figure out which instance sizes you should have. So just know that beyond just basic VM management, there's a ton of other services out there that will help you as you start moving your workloads into Azure Infrastructure as a Service. And last but not least, before we jump into one more demo, is Azure is the most trusted and compliant cloud. Now, why does that matter? It really matters a lot as you start talking about doing migration for your company. One of the biggest roadblocks and biggest challenges that you'll find out is as you start picking a cloud provider, you have to actually make sure that its compliance meets your company's compliance requirements. Number one thing you'll need to do. And the fantastic thing about Azure is there's a whole set of documentation on security and compliance that you can really look at to figure out whether it does meet your compliance or not. Now, let's talk about one more thing in the operations piece. This is actually my favorite part of the demo. That's a couple of cool things. How many of you ever use the Azure Quick Start templates? Not very many. Okay. So when I mention templates, this is one thing that makes, if you're an IT pro, a lot of times when I first show templates, it kind of makes people's eyes glaze over a little bit. But just bear with me. It's really, really powerful stuff, and it's not nearly as hard as it looks. One of the key things you can do to start learning this is go take a look at the Azure Quick Start templates. And there's 736 templates in the gallery at the moment. And let's just pick one. So this template will create a new Active Directory domain with 2 domain controllers. Maybe. Oh, Wi-Fi, don't phone me now. All right, there it goes. Whew, scared me. So let's take a look at what that looks like in the actual Azure portal. So I'm going to click the Edit Template button, and what you're seeing here is over on the right, this is a JSON code that represents the different resources that's in that template. Over on the left is kind of the visualized approach for it. So I can expand this out a little bit. And now over on the right, you can actually see what these resources are. So you have public IP addresses, you have availability set, you have network interfaces, load balancer, all that good stuff. So over on the right is the actual template that writes that. And just keep in mind, after you do this for a little while, it won't look that weird. But whenever you're first getting started, it's a little tricky. But ultimately, what this template's going to do is it will deploy a domain controller. It will promote it to Active Directory. It will then create another VM, and it will join it to that Active Directory, all with just, once the template's written, of course, just a few clicks. So we'll call it Contoso, give it an IP, and deploy it. Got to type a better password than that. There we go. Oh, sorry, resource group, thank you. All right, and about 15 minutes from now, maybe 20-ish, we'll have a couple of domain controllers. So really powerful stuff. If this is perfect for, dev and test environments where you're repeatedly deploying infrastructure, running tests, deleting it, deploying it again, et cetera, et cetera. And it's also fantastic for production environments. Once it's out there, you can actually manage your infrastructure, version it, and change it using updates like this and through configuration management software like PowerShell DSC, things like that. One other couple of things I'm going to show real quick before we wrap up is if I go back to my virtual machine or my resource groups, I do want to show just a little tiny bit of the options that you'll have here whenever you pull up your virtual machines. So like if we pull up the Windows VM that I created earlier, there's several options here that you can choose from, like virtual machines extensions. So this is, again, part of your automation that you'll run through. If a virtual machine extension is basically a extensibility endpoint where you can execute code on your VM. And the code all depends on which extension you pick. For instance, if I have a PowerShell DSC script that I want to run on this VM, I can pick that, browse to my PowerShell DSC. I can also have it point to an Azure Automation DSC service, and that way it can automatically pull configurations. I don't have to go manually upload a script. Or if I'm using Chef in my environment or Puppet, these are all extensions that are just baked into the platform that you can automatically configure and manage your VMs as you go. So if you're not using configuration management in your environment yet, if you're not using templates, definitely something to start working into. It's one of the key things that really unlocks the power that you get inside of Azure. So a couple other things just to highlight is all the monitoring, the diagnostics, the operations capabilities that you get from a VM. So not going to spend too much time on these because there's a ton of sessions out there that'll take you a little bit deeper into all these. But definitely start looking into them as you start migrating out to Azure. There we go. All right, so your call to action. If you're not using Azure today, which be surprised if you're not, but if you're not, you can create a subscription today, free subscription, $200 credit. You can play with it, delete it when you're done. Won't charge you. Don't have to have a credit card to beyond your $200. So if you don't want to go on beyond that, totally free. There's a ton of additional sessions though, so this is just getting started. It's really, really designed to help you understand the context of what Azure can do and how you can get there. But there's a whole bunch of other sessions that will take you a little bit deeper. Sessions on migration, sessions on management, security, networking, you name it. So go take a look at these, and this is definitely not the comprehensive list too. These are just the ones that are most closely aligned with getting started. So that's pretty much it. Thank you very much, and please give me an eval.